Hello. So I'm going to give you a intro explainer video to Gene Keys and a little bit about me and a little bit about how I work with people. I have a rather unique way of being a guide in people's lives because I often am trying to talk people out of doing a Gene Keys reading because I find that, and I'll talk about this more, the most effective thing that I can offer you is a container for your transformation and guidance within that. And so I'll teach you a little bit about that and a little bit about the ways that I work with people. So first of all, my name is Sarah Shepherd. I am a mystic and an entrepreneur, as well as a Gene Keys guide. I have two websites, so depending on where you're finding this, Golden Guidance is where I primarily build containers for Oracle Body, as well as Gene Keys. And then I also work with practitioners through my software system that I've built called Carmelwell Health Technologies. Carmelwell Health is a software system where I bring together many practitioners from all over the world in various different disciplines. And I've woven together a system that's based on my knowledge as a clinic owner and a facilitator and teacher of spiritual development for 20 plus years. And I've now put that together in a signature software system called Carmelwell, where we gift and work in a collaborative weaving together. If you're interested in that and you're a practitioner, I would love for you to reach out to me and I can share a bit more about that software system. I also work with women in a coaching program called Oracle Body. I was very uh, shadow mystic would be what I would say. I didn't realize for a long time my gifting capacity. And then I was able to start to refine the way that I was living my life and unpick these wounds of challenge that had showed up in my childhood and through my development. And I have a whole library of teaching where I work in a container with women to help them transform their own DNA. And this is a big part of the way I work with people is my greatest offering is to empower you to be the one who's guiding yourself. Only you know what your inner authority is, and only you know the best medicine for your soul. And I'm really good at helping people unweave what's getting in the way of that, kind of clipping back the veils and helping people come to a deep understanding of their inner truth. One of the modalities that I found to be so helpful in this is your gene keys. Your gene keys is a map to your awakening. It's a chart that's pulled from your birth chart. I'll go into the details of the chart in a little bit, but you can work with me doing a reading. I'll try to talk you out of it though, and I'll basically explain to you that you'll get way more out of it if you do either an activation, a Venus, or a Pearl retreat with me. Activation and Pearl are a little bit shorter. We're looking at about 4 to 6 weeks of a journey for that, and it's $444 Canadian. The Venus sequence is closer to 1500. This is a deep dive with a minimum of 3 months. And I also work with the mystical elements of the higher essences of the Venus sequence through 7 sacred seals. So we're working in multi-dimensional ways to unwind these wounds that are showing up and then really empowering you to recognize that everything in your life, every pain that you have in your body, every heart closing moment that you have is an opportunity for you to release stored energy that is wound around your heart field and wound in the connective tissue around the pericardium, as well as mystically it's showing up in the dynamics that you're in. And so it just takes some nuance and some time to work in that way. And so I only work with people in their Venus sequence as a private guided retreat. If you want to know more about that, please let me know. And if you are interested in doing a reading, they're 222. We touch on all of these elements, but it's really high level. And I care more about you having the tools of the, how do I apply this to my life now? So we're going to go into some of the techniques and some of the processes that really help people understand what it is that you're looking at with your gene keys. So I love this image on the right of a person's light body. We all have this expression of our luminous energy field. And some people can see them, Some people can see the aura of another person. Some people can feel the aura of another person. If you're a highly sensitive being, you're probably picking up even more information than you've ever realized before. And this is my gifting, is I'm able to help people understand how to unwind their own gifting and move from that place. And it just takes us a little bit of time to do that. The Gene Keys is an emerging system that is here to help humanity move through a time of evolution. So for the last 420 years, humanity's been in a theme that has come to the end of its chapter, and we're going into a new theme. And so all around us, people are waking up to their higher gifting, to their higher gifting capacities, as well as their DNA is turning on in new ways. And so one of the things that we can do for one another is to create safe spaces for each of us to move in this way of healing and awakening. And it's sort of a basis of knowledge that has not been offered before all in one system, but it has been through the several thousand years been taught in a variety of different ways and disciplines through organized religion, various spiritual disciplines. And the Gene Key system is one of the evolutions of a synthesis of all of those systems coming together. The way that I like to teach the transformation of humanity has a lot to do with my background in massage therapy and teaching osteopathy, as well as working with a group of clients for thousands of clients for 23 years as a registered massage therapist in British Columbia. I'm no longer a registered massage therapist. I work with people in their soul awakening because I have come to a space where I've seen that all of your pain, all of your emotional challenges come from these charges of energy that are longing to come into coherence, and they are in your emotional body. And they are an opportunity for you to digest the survival system, this wise part of your human experience that is your nervous system that has been evolved over time to keep you safe. And you've now hopefully gotten to a space where that survival system has actually become an inhibitor to your evolution, and that fear and that necessity of protection is stopping you in some way from experiencing your essential abundance, which is inside, which is actually a part of the molecules that are circling around in your body. And when we start to look at our yin and our endocrine system and the ways that those molecules, these packages of dormant energy, are giving us this beautiful, beautiful opportunity to transcend, to transform, and to turn and meet the deep intelligence that's there, we will be able to step into what's called energetic integrity or energetic coherence, so that that vibration that is our being not only can be felt within our human experience, but it also starts to attract more and more opportunities for humanity to work together, is really what it's coming down to. So when we hear these stories of the world is coming to an end and there's all of these collapses of systems and failures of systems, as somebody that stands in the gifting that I am standing in, I would like to offer that there's never been a more beautiful time for humanity to be alive, and never before has there been more opportunity for us to come together in a collaborative way. So the evolution of human consciousness has got some elements that are a really big part of it. Previously, we've developed our brains to be linear, analytical, vocally communicated. And the first kind of part of humanity coming into these other layers of consciousness is by having more balanced hemispheres. So both sides of our hemispheres, our right side of our hemisphere, which is a little bit more related to our artistic capacities, it's more acoustic, it's more somatic, so it's more body related. Those elements of those hemispheres coming into coherence is a really big part of humanity coming into its awakening. And some of the elements that are required are this sense of uncertainty, which most people absolutely despise. And for most people, that's actually what draws them to their gene keys. And so it's kind of this paradox to discover, oh, nobody's going to give me an answer to this experience I'm having of uncertainty, but I can give you a methodology of how you can start to discover how beautiful that uncertainty is and evoke your own miracles. It's the way we interpret our outer reality that helps us respond to the frequency of our being. And it's the way in which we respond to the frequency of our being that opens up quantum consciousness We're moving from an age of information into an age of inspiration, especially with the explosion of AI. There is information everywhere. Everybody can have it in the palm of their hands at any moment. But what we don't have in a ChatGPT app is the way to emotionally connect with each other, the way to come into coherence in our nervous systems, as well as how to show up as this beautiful puzzle piece of what humanity is in our unification. So you might be coming to the Gene Keys looking for your purpose. One of the spheres that we'll talk about is the gene key of your purpose. But what are the gene keys if you're very new to this? The gene keys are a profound system of personal transformation, illuminating the unconscious patterns that we have in our awareness that are playing out in our life as we believe are suffering. By examining your hologenetic profile, you're going to be able to look at these tendencies. We each have our own kind of map to the patterns of and geometries of how energy moves through our physical expression. And it's actually through fostering self-acceptance that we're able to unlock the gifts in each of the shadow frequencies and really guide you towards living a more authentic life. Hologenetic means light matter. So it's a combination of your consciousness and our relationship to consciousness and the mystery of life coming into the material plane. One of the things that I love to teach people and remind them is that you're the bridge. You are a rainbow bridge between Earth and the sun. And it's through this bridge or this portal or this gateway of consciousness that is you, that you begin to unlock your greatest mystical capacities. And each of us has a superpower or several that are hidden within our trauma fields, our ancient DNA, our survival system, or what we have otherwise called our suffering. And that's how I help people. I got to meet my mentor, Richard Rudd, one of my mentors at the Future Human event last November in London. I can authentically say that discovering the gene keys and working with the gene keys synthesis has transformed my life. But where did it come from? Let's talk a little bit about the early development of gene keys. So gene keys came from the human design system. And the human design system is a knowledge system that incorporates the astrology system, the I Ching, the Judaic Kabbalah, as well as the Vedic chakra system with quantum physics and quantum biology. And the gene keys is an evolution of that, where we take that valuable knowledge system that breaks down humanity into 5 different auric types and gives you an incredible amount of beautiful data about the way the energy moves through your physical body and your experience. So that's what we're looking at here. On the left is this, it's called a rave mandala. The Rave Mandala was discovered by Ra Uru Hu back in 1987. He had an awakening experience where he saw how all of these systems were actually true. This map of the cosmos and the stars combined with the gates of the I Ching, which is a 64 hexagram matrix that breaks down the attributes of life as it flows through our consciousness between Yang consciousness, or the sun, or illumination, and Yin consciousness, or the body, or pure potential. And then that all ties together in these pathways, also known as initiations, that had been mapped out by the Kabbalah, another several thousand-year-old teaching. And then the Vedic chakra system is also another map for the glandular system, and we'll go into that a little bit. So each of these wheels of information, or these places that are called centers, correspond with where you have glands in your body. So it's a map of your light field as well as your matter field of body. And as a practitioner for many, many years, chasing symptoms and trying to help people with massage therapy or pep talks or a variety of different exercises, I have completely pivoted to working with people on the environment that they're in and the way that they're referencing themselves based on frequency and the frequency of consciousness, and how that is their greatest opportunity is how they respond to what's showing up in that valuable information in your body, which doesn't always feel like a great thing to do at the time. Let's take a look at the levels of consciousness through the lens of emotions. Dr. David Hawkins was the first person that I was able to study that worked with the frequency of consciousness. And so you can see this spectrum of emotions on the far left here, ending with shame at the bottom. What I would say as a medicine woman is that shame is a really valuable part of like the continuum of emotions that helps us understand where the densest frequencies are, and enlightenment as at the top. And enlightenment is the most illuminated frequencies, not any better than the other. Even though that they're set up kind of in this hierarchy here, we want to be able to oscillate between all of them and understand where we are at any time so that we can navigate them properly. What you experience in each of these levels, when you're in the denser levels, when you're below grief down to shame, you'll be stuck in this state of inaction. It's an indicator when we start to look at how these molecules of intelligence are showing up, we're able to know what to do with them and how to work with them, which leads to greater and greater levels of synchronicities. So you start to see happiness and productivity here, whereas the pride, anger, desire field is a little bit more related to getting you moving. There's sort of a hyper anxiety, agitation. This is in the mystical teaching would be one of the ways to look at it is like these vibrating molecules are trying to get you moving. And then we come into the highest, of course, reason, love, joy, peace, and enlightenment. And it can be so tempting to chase those higher frequencies, but I assure you, the most valuable thing you can do is look at what your gifts are and work with your gifts. And then we use, as part of these coaching programs, we use those shadows to be our indicators for the way we have run into a wall or run into an ancestral pattern that is looking to be reoriented. And then simply by shifting our perspective, we can create opportunities for synchronicities and miracles. And I see it every day. It's a great gift of mine to be able to work with people in this way. So I, like many people, tried to avoid emotions for a long time. I had a really, we'll say, colorful childhood where there was that combination with my high sensitivity and high aptitude for understanding emotions left me feeling and experiencing a deep level of programming that was in the way of my shining. It was in the way of me coming into my greatest gifting. And only in the last 3 years have I been able to transform those molecules of motion and help people understand how to work with them, heal themselves, heal their own lineage, and thereby bring out this poetic and creative expressions of their genius. And that's really what it is that I'm offering people with their gene keys. The reason that they're called your gene keys is because they how to say this in a really kind of like, I don't want to intimidate people, but the best way to describe this is we have amino acids that are the simple building blocks of our body, and our amino acids respond to the belief systems that we have. So if you believe that you're inherently broken, your DNA will listen to your belief system about yourself, and it'll produce DNA that is connected to that resonance field or connected to that belief system that you have. And the DNA amino acids are connected to the gates of the I Ching. And the I Ching is this beautiful 64 hexagram matrix that helps you understand how to integrate the frequency of consciousness into your life. And it's actually simpler than it sounds from that last slide. So your frequency determines your ability to transform your wounds. And every single one of us has a wound. Everybody. It's part of our soul's awakening is to take this endowment that we get as part of coming into life and restore the truth of our unlimitedness and essentially bring love into places where love has not been able to vibrate before. A really simple way of describing illumination is that we meet every moment of contraction or pain with an approval and a safety that has not yet been able to be there. And as humans, we get to do this for each other. So there are 6 primary wounds known as the core wounds. They are separation, guilt, rejection, shame, denial, and repression. And there is a way that each wound needs to be met personally and intrapersonally. And it's through care, forgiveness, gentleness, humor, ease, and honesty. And so these strategies of alignment, when we apply them to our somatic experience, allows us to transform and rewrite our DNA, which is a miraculous experience. So let's talk about the frequencies of consciousness. Another way of saying your shadows is a challenge to surmount. So, quite simply, it's an unconscious pattern. It's a way that you were taught how to meet your attachment needs throughout your childhood, and you were likely taught those ways of meeting your attachment needs because that's what your parents were taught was the way to meet their attachment needs. And so it's nobody's fault that we are the way that we are or the pain that we have. There's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing to fix. I think often it can be so tempting to want to wallow in these shadows. And I'm a big fan and advocate of agile shadow work, but it's not to stay stuck in them. These molecules of emotion are meant for us to garner opportunities to bring courage and love into them, not to stay in these denser layers. And that can be something that shows up a lot in the spiritual community. There's either a spiritual bypassing, which is just goes directly into the love and light and will just surpass all of this with, over the ungrounded positivity, or will spend too much time in the shadow and start to build a chemistry as a result of that that reflects the emotional pain patterns that are more difficult to work through and is more inviting to project them onto other people from that place. And so when you just do a little bit of shadow work and a little bit of expanding into what does it mean to have shadows? What does it mean to have blind spots? If I fully take responsibility for some of these challenges that I have, they become a great opportunity and a great gift. Every shadow pattern has a tendency that is inherently yang or inherently yin. So if you don't have the Gene Keys book, this big book, you can still work with your Gene Keys through just looking at your chart. The beauty of having the book is in each chapter, it goes into what the reactive or repressive tendency is. But essentially, if you have a reactive pattern, you're more likely to take that explosive energy and blame somebody. And if you have a repressive pattern, you're more likely to internalize it or to avoid the energy pattern. One is more yang, so one is more masculine in nature. The energy goes out into the manifest world. And the other one is more yin in nature, and the energy collapses in on itself and it gets stuck. What we want to do is we want to work in the gift frequency. So this is our creative attribute that is our birthright. This is this place of inherent potential that every single person has when they're in that moment of their shadow and they're not able to understand that their shadow is teaching them something. And if they're willing to take that shadow information and kind of go, aha, I'm in these denser energies. How do I want to restore the health of my frequency? That's the place where we hold the power of transformation. And when I work with people, I help them expand their capacity with their nervous system to hold greater and greater levels of discomfort, and more opportunities for harmony start to arise, more and more synchronicities start to arise, and we're recognized by our fractal family. We're recognized by the team of people that are also here, that have incarnated with us in this life to support us in our awakening. And that's what's so beautiful about this process, is that if you found this material, it's not by accident. It's likely the perfect time for you to start moving in this direction, and you'll start to draw towards you all of the people that are here to help you in that. The greatest expression in that frequency of consciousness, which is in your Gene Keys chart, is the Siddhic expression. So this represents the spiritual realization or enlightenment. So this level transcends all the personal and universal consciousness realms. And when I work with people, I start to try to show them how your Siddhic expression is actually showing up in more places than you probably realized it was already. It might be showing up in the way you mother. It might be showing up in the way that you're a lover. It might be showing up in the way that you are an artist and you have these experiences on many, many different levels. But in that, nobody's really given you the permission slip to kind of go, oh my gosh, this moment of awe is me shining in my greatest glory. And that, as a mystic, is the thing that I spend a lot of time being able to help people dance in that realm. So this is a great time for you to pull your Gene Keys If you haven't got your chart already, you can go to genekeys.com and just get your free chart. I'm going to give you a little mini class on what you're looking at. So the sequences are your activation sequence, your Venus sequence, and your Pearl sequence. They're these journeys that you get to go on. Gene Keys has recently released, it's called the Star Pearl, and the Star Pearl is this next iteration of a self-development journey where you get to work with a whole group of people all over the world in one of these sequences. And for today, we're just going to work with some of the more basic sequences, and I'll give you a little bit of an opportunity to get a sense of how to work with your chart. So what you're looking at in your activation sequence is your journey, or your Venus sequence, like I was saying, is the journey of opening your heart. And the Pearl sequence is how to be able to experience the abundance of your essential nature and then start to magnetize prosperity into your life from that place. Your pathways, so the spaces between these circles, are called the initiations. So in this example, in your chart, you're looking at the sphere of your life's work and the sphere of your evolution. They're called pairing partners. And a pairing partner means that in this wheel of the I Ching that we're looking at around the outside, each of those 64 hexagrams has an opposite or mirrored or sort of like a butterfly wing of the hexagram and the opposite side. And so we use that opposition to create a greater capacity for consciousness within ourself. The spheres, each of the circles, are like your classroom. So you might find that your Gene Keys has a number of classrooms that have the same hexagram in them. That's the hexagram here. I'll talk about that in a second. So one of the things that can happen is that you find that you're going to school and School of Earth, and it's been really underscored where your work is. And so you might spend your entire life polishing and refining this one area where you have the same class to go over and over and over again. And so these are places to look for as the greatest opportunity for us to unpick the wound and open ourselves up to more fully to the expression of our light body. The decimal point in each of the spheres is called a line or a keynote, is sometimes the way it's described. The best way to describe a keynote is like your homework. A keynote is the energetic frequency or signature behind the sphere. And what happens with the keynotes is that there's these themes of how the energy moves in your life and your experience. And so you start to recognize and often can start to feel what it is that that person or that person in your life is experiencing in relationship to you and how they're influencing you with their auric field. And this becomes this beautiful space where we can help influence one another with unique perspectives. So we might have the same gene key where we each have 63 in the same spot, but we might have an iteration of it that is distinct. So if I have a 63.6 and you have a 63.2, we both have the same classroom and the same teacher, but we each have our own unique way of integrating that into our life. And that's why it's called the homework, is because what I do with it when I take it out into my human experience has everything to do with the way that I emerge more fully into my whole human experience. Now, this is the thing that I feel like many people miss when they come to the Gene Keys system, or when they're initially looking for why they would want to do their Gene Keys, is it's not about doing a reading, nor is it about doing the course and just taking in the information mentally. We need to apply it to our life. And so that has everything to do with the technique of the art of contemplation. And the art of contemplation is a way of living. It's a way of living where we create pauses throughout the course of our day. We create a relationship with life so that everything within life becomes one of the experiences or opportunities for you to come to transform your human experience to be a higher amplitude or a higher experience of consciousness. I've taught many courses about alchemy, and I love teaching about contemplative alchemy. Another way you can look at your lines is how to turn your body into this alchemical cauldron that starts to transform your DNA. And so these processes from the I Ching that have to do with putting your awareness underneath this charge of energy that has been challenging to you in some way and integrate that into spirit. So we're taking these denser energies and using our own cauldron of self when we're balanced between our yang containment of consciousness and our capacity for our nervous system to hold big charges of energy. And then we allow for this sweetness and this sensitivity and the softness of our feminine consciousness, those molecules of our intelligence, to reinform and remagnetize the greatest potential in our DNA. In the journey of awakening, what we're looking at is this process that just goes from this shadow frequency or living your life as a victim. So life is happening to me. I'm not getting what I want. I don't have the love I want. I don't have the money I want. My child is bothering me. My parents are bothering me, whatever it is. Something outside of me is the problem. And we will chase after the ayahuasca journey or the counselor or the new car or the new wife or the new husband in order to make that pain go away. And ultimately, as we start to make our lives into a piece of artwork where we're building a beautiful experience of our relationship with life, we will do so by allowing everything that shows up to be our guidance. And as we move it into that space of being in a relationship with it, we begin to accept that life is happening through us. We start to move from this survival paradigm that I spoke about in the beginning, about our survival nervous system, into this age of integration and reason, and spiritual paradigm starts to emerge, so that rather than life being something that's happening to you, it becomes something that's happening through you. And the way that you live your life ultimately brings you to this final outcome of an ecstatic awakening where you're embracing that you are life and life is coming alive as an opportunity to be in a biological relationship with you. So the technique for this that I teach people that comes from the Gene Keys is to live a life where you build pauses in. So all of the data that shows up as charges of information within you, we need to make space to allow for them. When we're overwhelmed, and I know all of this material and I still get overwhelmed emotionally, when we're overwhelmed, it's an opportunity for us to slow down and let that overwhelm become the field of our transformation. It usually means that there's a certain amount of checking in with the nervous system and creating a little bit more spaciousness for it to be safe to do that. One of the things that I like to teach my students is that no child in a school setting will be able to learn when they don't feel like it's safe to do so. It's the human condition that the first priority needs to go to us feeling like we're not under threat. And if you believe that in your relationship or in your job or in the experience of going out in society that you're under attack in some way, or that something's inherently wrong with you and needs to be fixed, then you're staying in that victim, pathological, perpetrator, savior model. And that leads to this projection of the outside world being bad and wrong. But when we start to turn towards allowing our inside world to be our teacher, then we embrace the opportunity to open ourselves to greater and greater layers of consciousness. And this happens quite organically when you start working with this material. In the initial phases, it can be a little bit overwhelming, and there is a little bit of initial kind of deconditioning that every one of us goes through, myself included. And sometimes we're going through many layers of deconditioning in more challenging times of our life. But that's really where the greatest courage is garnered, as well as the greatest experience of love as we start to work with that. So every opportunity is an opportunity to come into deeper coherence with our greatest truth. If you feel like you're done, and you've got lots of information and you're ready to move on, I would recommend checking out the webinar that I've also got included beside this one. And that is from the Gene Keys. It's an intro to Gene Keys. If you feel like you would like to have a little bit of an experience of working with this material in this way, I'm going to offer a little mini meditation around this beautiful teaching called kintsugi. It's actually the art of repair in Japan, where pieces of pottery that have been broken were restored with gold glue or a gold repair And it leads to the pottery being even more beautiful and highlighting the wound. And so from this space of looking at ourselves in this way, we can start to transform those challenges that we've had into the greatest opportunity for our opening of our hearts, as well as the experience of deep surrender to consciousness, divine will, and our greatest expansion. So pause now or stay on, and we will start a little meditation in just a second. No, I want you to remember this image of that golden repaired pottery. Make yourself comfortable and settle in. You'll be here for about 12 minutes. And the invitation is to call forward some issue or a seed that has been challenging you in your life in some way. And imagine that inside that seed, even though that seed causes suffering, is something of treasure, of value, of deep worth. So just feel that seed, that charge of energy, its hard edges, and see if you can go into the suffering around it, perhaps the pain, whether it's emotional, physical, anxiety, maybe all of those things. And that seed has a deep root somewhere inside of us. And a plane of being that's beyond our conscious understanding. And that seed is asking for us to hold it gently in our palms and give our attention to it, nurture it. Our whole lives, an unfolding of this seed. When you look at your life, you'll see how that seed has grown into a sapling. As you were a young child, and the sufferings and the trials and the loves and the beauty that you experienced as a child, all of it. It's all part of the pattern hidden in that seed. The geometry of the energy hidden in that seed. We have to see that we're here to allow our suffering to shape our lives, build the chemistry that we experience around us. So just see how your suffering has shaped your life. See perhaps how one year it was struck by lightning and a branch gave way and a wound appeared. But over time that wound healed over. The tree continued to grow around it in a new direction with a new shape. And with new vigor. You see how the tree of your life has begun to fluoresce, begun to flower. Maybe there's some moss on the branches. There's invited creatures, birds. Through your magnetism, you've drawn life towards you. And that it's actually enhanced your difficult periods or these challenges, challenging relationships, heartaches, worries, that they've somehow made you stronger, made you more beautiful. I want you to really look at your life and marvel at your life. See how those areas, there are areas that hold now, maybe it hasn't quite healed over yet. Perhaps it's very raw. But given time, love, and patience, will heal over. Clarity will come. Peace will return. You'll be able to look deeper into life and understand others, their suffering, and be able to live in a more open-hearted and compassionate way, because you've been able to learn how to do that for yourself. So I'd like you to really look at your life through the eyes of love. Consider the potential of looking at your wounds through the lens of love as an opportunity to behold the beauty of suffering. These scars and transformations actually make us more human and allow us to experience healing. You want to place your palms on your body anywhere, perhaps your belly or your heart. Feel the trunk of your own tree. Little seed that you've brought with you today, cradle it. Your heart of hearts. Sweet song of remembering your essential nature. Remind yourself that the heart opens in layers, requires your patience, gentleness, needs time, needs softening. It needs us to look at ourselves with softness. That's the atmosphere that we need, our life needs, and our body needs, so that our soul can begin to shine through. We're all here together. Suffering is actually what unites. It equalizes everyone. No one can escape it. It means that no one is higher or lower than anyone else. And there's a great warmth in that. And we suffer together and rise together. So we're all holding this together. One belly, one group consciousness connected to the journey back to remembering our divinity. And so our wounds are always teaching us the way home. Our wounds are always teaching us the beauty of this path that we get to journey, path that we call emotional alchemy, transformation. What you start to see is that gold that is used to fill the cracks is love. Love rises up from inside of us and it binds together that which appears to be broken, that which appears to be separate or caused us a doubt, that which causes our pain, is longing for our love, our love that is hidden at the core of everything. Each of our shadows is our opportunity to transform a place where love could not reside. And the purpose of our suffering is hidden. That's mystery. That's the mystery and beauty of life. So just give it the right space and the right softness. And always what will appear is love. What you do, just consider holding this space within you after this day, nurture and to trust this space and to see where it leads you. Breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, soft jaw, broad forehead, wide open heart. Begin to gently open your eyes with a soft gaze, first looking down as you come back into the space of the room. So that is just an example of a mini journey of working with these charges of energy or these wounds in that way that we would call our shadow frequencies or just our pains, our human experience. And one of the other things that I would offer is this free resource through Gene Keys, which is the Triple Flame app, where there's many, many beautiful journeys offered by Richard Rudd that bring you through these little meditations that bring containment. Something I teach in my programs is the process of containment and how we can be our best houses at times, be our most safe space when we learn containment. And my invitation to you is to ask questions, reach out to me. I invite that if you are longing to understand this material more deeply, you're longing to work together in a system of humanity that are co-creating a new earth and co-creating new systems for healing, as well as systems for education and care for one another to move through this beautiful time of transformation that humanity is in, please send me messages. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for your time and attention, and blessings on your journey.